So, hello everybody. Olá, obrigado. If I said it wrong, please correct me. So, we're gonna talk about prototyping the future. It's a very interesting topic for me. I'm very passionate about it. And if with Scoop's introduction, we're talking about a very complex business and a very complex company. And we have a lot of constraints when designing for this kind of business. But as a designer, sometimes we need to get rid of the constraints and also imagining a new horizon to propose that. And it's where prototype it's our best friend to convey and deliver a message. So who am I? I'm Vitor from Brazil. Is there someone from Brazil here? Nobody? Oh, I'm very disappointed. We are everywhere. Not this time. So sorry. So I'm the only Brazilian here. So I'm the Brazilian who moved to the Netherlands. You can think about, oh, you came from a sunny place, a lot of beaches, good food to the Netherlands. The Netherlands is nice, but it's actually a big change. I'm also in my free time, I love to do street photography. So I arrived yesterday in Prague. I have been here already. It's a beautiful city. So I took some shots. This is just a sample. I um I love pets. I love dogs. So this is Zach, my border collie, also Brazilian. And we have a dog here today watching the presentation. I'm really glad about it. There. Hope he likes. And I also love to travel, of course. Like I moved to Europe because traveling here is amazing. So this was 3 weeks ago in Norway, like catching the Northern Lights. You know this guy, right? Elon Musk. So this for me is a very good example on how you shouldn't communicate a vision. This guy is promising a full self-driving on Tesla for a decade now, saying that next year Tesla will have this full self-driving car. Luckily, I just drive bikes because I live in the Netherlands. But if I had a Tesla, I would be very mad. Imagine like you pay the price of Tesla, expecting to have the experience he's promising, but actually he's not delivering it. And can you call that a vision? I call false promise, honestly. Uh, Another example. This is from 1987, more than 35 years ago. This is from Apple, and I'm really glad that you used Brazil in the example. But this is actually a vision they created, a demo with a prototype showing how future could be if you had an assistant. And 24 years later, Siri came. So this is a way for you to actually prototype, poke for a vision, even though at that time they didn't have an idea that technology we have nowadays will be capable to create something like that. But it's not a problem. You actually can envision something and that can inspire people and you go towards that direction. But we know that Siri is not perfect, right? So even though it's not there yet. Craft. That's in my opinion, the most important ability we can have as a designers. If you think about form and function, which is our classical definition of design, I cannot see myself without crafting. And we need to focus on craft always. It's crafting that you're going to lead the way. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So at Mews, we divide prototyping in three main topics. One, to invalidate a concept through UX research, the classical methods we have. Two, feasibility, also as a proof of concept. And to influence a strategic direction. I'm going to focus on the third. Daniel, the next speaker, is going to focus on the first and the second because these ones require more advanced prototyping skills, and he has. And I'm going to show you the Mews way of crafting a demo and also a little bit how I like to craft a demo. And a first example for us is going to be walkthrough interactive. And everything here is 100% built on Figma. So it was a challenge actually, like how can you make cool prototypes or efficient prototypes only using Figma? We know that there are some more fancy and efficient tools like Framer or Prototype, but let's see what Figma can do. So this is one example I crafted for an onboarding vision where we wanted to show the company how onboarding at Mews can be self-service and quick, as again, it's a very complex business. So there are a few interactions we can create here, like super simple, actually. So we fill the information and we can have some animations here. Everything in one slide, as you can see. Location, also clicking and having everything smooth, and some animation to actually build everything in a beautiful way and convey a message. Behind the scenes scene, very important to rename layers to work with animation on Figma. I know everybody hates that. I personally hate that. But luckily, Figma is introducing to us Figma AI, a way to rename. But it's extremely important to rename the layers once this is the fundamental to Smart Animate works properly. It's basic, but essential. Otherwise, this is what's gonna happen. Like, if you don't rename the layers, yeah, that's the result. And is there someone from design system team here? Raise the hand. Okay, just a few. We're not gonna kill you, but we have to detaching the components is really important to make the prototypes to work. Why? Because we need to clean up as much as possible, and some components we have hidden layers. So it's really important to detach this component to make the prototypes to work and the animations that I'm going to show how to do it. Which leads us to the main technique, which is a technique that I believe most of you here heard or played with, which is Smart Animate and Variants. And there are three parameters, in my opinion, that is really important to make good prototypes with Smart Animate. One is knowing how to work with delay. So it is about giving a right time to the prototype to show up, some brief time, mastering the custom bezier and curves, and also timing. This one is hard because we don't have timeline. Is Smart Animate. It's only timing and screens and components. So that makes things a little bit challenging. But for a basic and essential level, I think what Figma delivers is actually very good. Another example, and then I'm going to show a little bit about this one. So here we have a dashboard for onboarding. And here we can have some interactions like this, have floating panels, and I want to get in touch with my onboarding manager, which is support Mews. And I was poking because I wanted to show to the company that this could be actually built in app. Instead of nowadays that we have calls, we have messages on email, we can build it there, something that is more self-service. And with Figma, we can show some basic animation interactions. For example, a conversation with my onboarding manager, I can schedule a time to have a call with him, and voila. So it's enough to show your stakeholders that this is the idea, this is how we thought about the idea, and also important to have some data things to be behind. A few things about curve and spring here. If you see the numbers I'm adding, so you can ask why you add the numbers you added. There are two things I have to say about that. One, you can study some animation principles, and this can help actually to have more smooth and technically speaking, good looking prototype, but actually it's about feeling. So test, do it, see if the numbers develop, if everything gets smooth enough, if it's working properly, and just test. It's very important to test, and you're gonna find what works best for you. This is not a rule. It's something that I take for myself after many years doing it. Bezier, which is the curve, works very well for models, side panels, menus, and forms because it's a basic interaction. So once it's a basic interaction, you don't need a very fancy configuration and parameters on the Smart Animate. You just need something basic that is smooth and beautiful enough. But the spring, where you can get more realistic animation, is good for micro interactions. So if you want to try something to show like a very small detail, for example, as I did in that floating panel, we can use a spring. Another technique, I don't know if you use that, but I quite like, and it's a way to change the position of a component. For example, in that case, we have the hotels icons. Once I click in one of them, it kind of switch the size, because I have different opacity and a different position on the X, Y, and also again, the layer naming is very important. So if you see the example specifically, the start and the middle, they have the same components. The difference is some of them are hidden by opacity and they have a different position. So once you connect one to the other, you have exactly this smooth behavior in the animation. This is a step-by-step that I take for myself. You can start like this, like a big mess. It's not a problem. It's part of our creativity process. But rename, again, I'm talking about that again, and animate, test your animation many times as possible, because once you create a component and turn it into a variant, it's going to be a little bit harder to be turning back all the time. So again, rename, animate, do all the tricks, test, create a component, and then turn in a single variant. And what is the benefit of doing that? You can have a library of animation. So nowadays we have a library of components. Why not a library of animated components that you can use for presentations? Some common parts of the systems or the apps you work, you can already have that, and all the team can access. So this makes things way easier, because we are kind of using the same principle of design system, but with prototypes, and it keeps everything light, because there's a library, there's an instance, it's just the instance that you are applying that's actually being rendered in Figma. Let's go to example number 2, which is I call auto animate, which is an animation that has a beginning and the end, is sort of a loop, and you don't need to interact with it. It's behind the scenes while you talk. So imagine a situation where you are presenting a vision and you have a prototype and you want to present that while Figma is working for you in the backwards. Something like this, for example. Everything built in Figma, nothing we utilize like different tools, is just there. And so some behind the scenes about this kind of prototypes. Don't be afraid of creating different transitions for different parts of your prototype. Like you can actually think, oh, it's better to keep the consistency of the animation on the screens because they are similar, but it depends. You have to check. So in this case, I created different parameters for different parts because I wanted like a delay on that specific session. I want to pause in that specific session so people actually can see what is happening there, while others can be a little bit faster. So that's the thing about, I was talking, timing and delay. Variant inside variant. To create that example, for instance, was basically a prototype of a variant, and I created a small deck with another variant and put it inside the other, so you can switch. So that's why also it's important to name. Then you know exactly what it is the screen about. But this is kind of tricky. Have never been more than 3 layers, like variant, inside variant, inside variant, but it generates a little bit of bugs. So I think maximum 2 layers for the current Figma capabilities is acceptable. And this is how we can do an example like that's more auto-animated. Okay, some benefits of these techniques. One, we can talk which is you have control and timing, which is different if you create like a GIF or a video. You don't have control. And when you're presenting, it is important to have the moment where you have a pause, you interact, you show your stakeholders, and also you have data, which with this format, you can have the data together with the prototype and everything in the same context. And again, it's also lightweight, which is important if you have a long presentation to avoid having performance issues. Downsides. The quality is not that yet. If you have a very eye for details, you probably solve some problems in the examples I brought. I see a lot of them there because it's actually, there are some limitations what you can do with no timeline, right? So it's good for this kind of examples I'm bringing. Like, I think it's very effective for vision, for presentation, but it's a very MacGyver way also doing it. So there are some gimmicks you have to make to work. So everything I show takes some time, but it's actually very simple in time that you do more than once. There's no magic, I would say. And of course, there are bugs. Yeah, I found a lot of bugs. I have to report this to Figma. Some takeaways. So what can we extract a little bit about these things? If you don't remember things I mentioned, if you remember all the takeaways, I'll be happy. When thinking about a vision in this kind of prototyping, in my opinion, first you have to create great solutions. The solution needs to be good. It needs to address business problems. It needs to be something, can be unique sometimes, or not, but needs to be something that people see, said, wow, this idea is great. And then you're gonna craft that with a polished craft. You're gonna show that why designers are different than product managers, because you can craft. You can say, no, product managers can use AI to craft. No, it's not gonna be good yet. And for me, prototyping here is the third spot, because I thought, as I presented here, it's just sufficient prototyping because the idea in the end is to deliver a message. So that's why I believe in this order specifically. Prototype is a tool, but again, storytelling and data are truly matter to ensure it doesn't become another dribble post. So myself, I made this mistake a few times. Like, design something beautiful was based on nothing. It was based on my beliefs only. Was in my dribble nowadays. Become portfolio. Well, prototypes, of course, is better than presentations. So boarding deck, for example, a role-based dashboard designed to maximize efficiency for hotels. What the fuck that means? You know? But when you show that, like you prototype, you can spend a few hours just say, oh, I want to create a role-based dashboard designed to maximize efficiency for hotels like this. Then it's different. Because it's easy to have ideas. It's very easy. But then when you craft a prototype, people will look to you differently. They're going to understand exactly what you're trying to say. I love this. Lead the way to execution, not just idea. Ideas everybody can have, not execution. Don't be like Elon Musk in that example. And if you guys know Dune, this is not prophecy, so it's as written. And thank you.